Good morning, Hardy Eagles. This is Miss Grillo here. I'm so happy to be back. I hope everyone had a great spring break, but it is time to get back to our virtual learning. So welcome back to Math with Miss Grillo. I'm so excited you've joined in with us today because we have some exciting things we are going to be going over. So get out a piece of paper or use the back of your packet and we are going to get started. Today we're doing something extra special. We are continuing the work that we were doing with fractions the week before spring break. And now we are going to go into working a little bit more with them. And in this case, we are going to be comparing fractions, all right? So think about it for just 1 second. What does it mean to compare fractions or to compare any number? What does that mean? Think you got it? So when we compare numbers, we are trying to figure out the greatest number and the least greatest number, or which one's the greatest and which one's, the smallest. So, something very important when we are working with comparing numbers, whether it's fractions or just whole numbers or decimals, is we have different symbols to tell us whether a number is bigger or smaller than another number. So we're going to go over quickly what these symbols are, and then we'll put them off to the side as reference. And when you do the challenge problems at the end of this video, feel free to come on back and look at this poster, poster I have up to see which each sign means. All right, so the first one we're going to look at is our greater than sign. So the mouth is pointing to the bigger number. So that is saying this number is going to be greater than this number. Okay? Our next one is our less than sign. The alligator mouth is still going to be pointing towards the bigger number. So we have this number is less than this number. So the important thing to remember is that our mouth is always going to want to eat the bigger meal, okay? So the opening is going to be facing the bigger number, all right? So greater than, less than, and then finally we have equal to. So it's just our normal equal sign, all right? So these are going to be the three signs we're going to be using today, and I am going to teach you a couple of strategies that you can use when you are comparing fractions, but they aren't just fractions. What do we notice about these fractions? Very good. They have different denominators. So I'm going to take this sign, I'm going to put it right over here as a reference for me to use while we are going over these. And it'll be a great help to us as we are trying to solve these problems. So 2/4 is greater than, less than, or equal to 6/8. All right. And so I've already drawn a number line. So the first thing we are going to use today, the first strategy is going to be a number line. So make sure you have written down this problem and you have your number line written down. And next we need to figure out the first things we label on our number line. I know if you were in my class, you'd know. Very good. We have to label our benchmarks. So our benchmarks are going to be 0. It's going to be 1/2. So right in the middle, 1/2. And then 1 right at the end. All right, so we have our three benchmarks, our 0, our 1/2, and our 1. Now, it is time for us to label each of our numbers. So, the very first fraction is in fourths. That means there are going to be 4 parts to this whole number line. All right, so that means I'm going to have sections, 4 lines. So, we're going to have 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4. Well, what do we know about 4/4? What is 4/4 the same as? 1 whole. Very nice. So I'm going to take my 4/4 and I'm going to label it right under the 1 whole. All right. Then I'm going to know that there's going to be 1 section in between here, 1 right here, and then 1 section in between here. So we have 0 or 0/4. Then we go to how many fourths? 1/4. And then right in the middle is going to be what? 2/4. 2/4 is the same thing as 1/2 because 2 is half of 4. Next we have 3/4. And then finally we have 4/4. All right, so we have our 2/4, well, our fourth labeled. Next, I need to put a point where my 2/4 is. Do we have it labeled on here? Yeah, we do. Right here. So I'm going to put a big blue point right there so that we know that this fraction is going to be right here on our number line. Next, I'm going to grab a different color for reference. And we are going to go ahead and label our eighths. So, just like before, we started with our 1 whole. How many eighths make 1 whole? 8/8. Very good. So we have 8/8. All right. And then we can ask ourselves, well, what is half of 8? Do we know that? 4, right? So 1/2 is going to be the same as 4/8. All right. So if this is 4/8, we know that we are going to have 4 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? So I'm going to go 1/8. 1/4 is going to be the same as 2/8. In between 2/8 and 4/8 is going to be 3/8. Then we have 4/8 in between 4/8. And this number is going to be 5/8. Right here, 4, 5, 6/8. Then we have 7/8 and 8/8. All right, so we have finally labeled our eighths on our number line, and now we have to pinpoint 6/8. So I'm going to look at my number line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6/8 is going to be right here. So I'm going to go ahead and put a point right there. All right, so now we have both of our fractions labeled on our number line. So now my question is going to be, which fraction is closer to 1 or closer to the biggest part of our number line? So we have 2/4 right here, but we have 6/8 right here. And 6/8 is only 2 jumps away from 1 whole or 8/8. And 2/4 is right in the 1/2. So we're halfway there. So 6/8 is more than halfway to 1. So 6/8 is going to be our bigger number. So let's look over at our signs. We have this as our greater than. So 2/4 greater than 6/8. Is that true? Nope, because 2/4 is smaller. It's further back on our number line. All right, so next one. We have 2/4 is less than 6/8. Yeah, 2/4 is further back on our number line. Let's just check to make sure. 2/4 is equal to 6/8. Are they at the same point on our number line? No, so they cannot be equal to. So the way we can fill out this sentence, this mathematical sentence, is by filling this spot in with which sign? Less than. Very good. So 2/4 is less than 6/8. All right. Very good job on question number 1. We are going to go ahead and move on, keep it going, to question number 2. This time, I am going to show you another way you can do this problem besides creating a number line. So for question number 2, we have 4/5 is greater than, less than, or equal to 8/10. All right, so there are actually 2 ways we can do this problem. The first way is we can count and find the least common denominator, okay? So our denominators here are going to be 5 and 10. So if we're looking for the least common denominator, that means when we're counting by 5s and counting by 10s, it is the smallest number that both 5 and 10 have in common, okay? So that is going to be the first way we do it. The other way is we can multiply by the other denominator. So we're going to do that second. But I'm going to ask a quick question. Why do I have to multiply at all? Why can't I just compare them 4/5 and 8/10? Okay, take a second to think about it. Why do I need to do any multiplication? Why can't I just compare these 2 numbers as they are without using a number line? Think you got it? I bet you do. Whenever we are comparing numbers, we need to compare with the same denominator. We need to compare with the what? Same denominator. Very good. We can't compare 5s and 10s because 5/5 are going to be much bigger than 10s. 10s are going to be small like this. 5s are going to be much bigger. So it's going to be really hard to figure out which one of these is closer to 1 whole. So first step, I'm going to do my least common denominator. Or least common multiple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to list all the multiples of 5. So count with me. 5 times 1 is 5. I'm going to write that down. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 4 is 20. And 5 times 5 is 25. All right, we're going to stop there for our 5ths, or our multiples of 5. And now I'm going to move to our multiples of 10. All right, and we're going to do the same thing over here. We know 10 times 1 is 10. 10 times 2 is 20. 10 times 3 is 30. And I'm going to stop there because we've already gone higher than our multiples over here. So we're stopped at 25 over here. We have 30 over there. So now I'm going to compare. What is the smallest numbers I have in common with this list and this one? Have any idea? Well, I noticed that there are 2 20s. There's a 20 right here, and there's a 20 right there. Is that our least common multiple? Why not? Why is that not our least common multiple? Right, because they both have one that's smaller. We have a 10 over here, right? 10 times 1 is is 10. All right. So I have 10 on one side and 10 on the other. All right, so my question for you is this. If we're going to use 10 as our denominator, do I have to change anything over here? No, I don't, because it's already in tenths. Okay, so I'm just going to move this down. Right, 8 tenths. What about over here? Do I need to change anything? Yeah, I do, because right now I'm in fifths, and I need to get to tenths. So 5 times what is going to give me 10? I heard it too. Very nice. So I'm going to do 4 fifths. I'm going to multiply 5 times 2. That's going to give me 10. And whatever I do to the denominator, I have to do to the numerator. So 5 times 2 is 10, which means I'm going to do 4 times 2. And 4 times 2 is 8. Very good. Whew. So let's look here. 5 fifths times 2 halves gives us 8 tenths. And 8 tenths stayed the same and is continuing to get us 8 tenths. So what do we know about these two numbers? What are they? Equal to. Very good. 8 tenths equals 8 tenths. They're the exact same fraction. So that is a strategy if you're looking for the least common multiple or trying to get to the same denominator but in the smallest amount of tries. There is one last thing you can do. I mentioned it in passing, but we are going to do it here. So the final strategy you can use if you aren't as familiar with your multiplication facts or you're struggling with them still, you can always multiply the other fraction by the denominator. All right? So I'm going to rewrite this down here. I have 4 fifths. And I'm going to multiply by this denominator. And what's that denominator? 10. So I'm going to multiply 4 fifths by 10. And whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. And we know 4 times 10 gives us 40. And 5 times 10 gives us 50. All right, so 4 fifths is the same thing as 40 fiftieths. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. But instead of multiplying by tenths, I'm going to multiply by the other fraction's denominator, which is what? Fifths. Very good. So I'm going to have 8 tenths. I'm going to multiply by fifths. And we're going to figure out what that gives us. Remember, whatever we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top. So we know that 10 times 5 gives us 50. And as we can see, those denominators match up. So we'll be able to compare them once we finish multiplying, okay? So we have 10 times 5 gives us 50. And then we have 8 times 5 gives us what? Well, we can count by fives. 5 is a pretty easy number to count by, so count with me. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So 8 times 5 is what? 40. Very good. So 8 tenths is going to be the same as 40 fiftieths. 40 fiftieths? 40 fiftieths. What sign am I going to have to put in the middle here? equal to. Very nice. So 4/5 is equal to 8/10. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Math with Miss Grillo. Make sure you are doing the challenge problems at the end of this video. I've gotten a lot of packets in, but unfortunately, I have not seen these challenge problems. So I am challenging you to do these problems. Who knows what extra stuff will be involved if you turn these in with your weekly packets. But I want to see what you've been learning. All right. Bye, guys. I hope you have fun doing this. And as always, remember, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to any of us 4th grade teachers or leave a comment in the video below. And I will do my best to either answer the question down there or create another video to support you. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.